This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at Apple's other smartphone for 2013. This is the iPhone 5C. Does C stand for color, for cheap? Who knows? I think it's probably for color, and we're going to look at it now. So here it is, the much talked about, much argued about, but probably less sought after new iPhone for 2013. This is the iPhone 5C, the somewhat more affordable counterpart to the iPhone 5S that we just reviewed as well. What's different about this one is $100 less on contract. It's $100 less if you're buying it at full retail price. Obviously, the $100 less on contract could be a lot more attractive for people than the difference in retail prices, where you're still looking at a fairly expensive phone either way. What's so cool about this? It's the colors that are available. I confess that I was kind of coveting this because it's just neat to have a choice. You've got pink, you've got blue, you've got green, you've got white, you've got yellow. It's a nice change. Not that I dislike the metal body on the iPhone 5 and 5S or the HTC One, any of those phones, but it's just refreshing, especially for the iPhone, which has been using basically the same industrial design for a couple of model iterations now. And as Apple taught us long ago with their iMacs that used to be available in many colors, and more recently Nokia with their awesome Lumia phones that came in a bunch of playful colors, it's neat. It really is neat to be able to have colors. And like the Nokia Lumia, they went with a nice polycarbonate, still a plastic, that's a plastic technology, back. But it doesn't feel cheap, it doesn't feel cheesy, it's slightly glossy, it's not blinding signal glossy. I can't do this and reflect too much, as you can see. If I work it enough, we'll get a little bit of reflection in there. Doesn't feel cheap in hand. Now, some people have said, oh, it feels like ceramic or like enamel. I don't think I would go that far. You can certainly tell it's a plastic phone, but it's about as high quality as plastic can feel. Again, just like the Lumia phones. When you get a Lumia, I think part of the attraction actually is the neat finishes and the polycarbonate. And the same way goes for this. It doesn't mean it's a cheap phone or that it looks cheap. Obviously, we have the green model here. And you get a different desktop that matches the phone, pre-configured. Green comes with a green desktop. Now you can change the desktop and put other colors on there if you want. It's just one of Apple's little Martha Stewart moments there, that you get the color-coordinated desktop by default when you boot it up. The face on all 5C models is black. There is no white option here, and this is the same 4-inch Retina display, 1136 by 640 pixels, 326 ppi pixel density that you're going to find on the iPhone 5 and the iPhone 5S. Same 500 nits of brightness and 800:1 contrast ratio. Still using the Apple A6 CPU. That's the same thing that's used in the iPhone 5, which honestly was a fast enough phone, and just as with this one, there's no complaints about speed. With the iPhone 5S, you really have to look for ways to try to tax it, and we'll have to look to the future in more demanding applications that really will make use of that incredibly super fast chip. The phone is available on all U.S. carriers, as I mentioned, and it's $99 for the 16 gig and $199 for the 32 gig, unless you're going with T-Mobile, who does it differently. They have payment plans, or you can buy it out full retail. Speaking of which, this is the T-Mobile version of the phone that we have here. This is one that I actually purchased retail for full retail price, and I know there's been a lot of discussion about whether or not this guy is unlocked. This one was not. When I plugged it into iTunes, I did not get any message about it being unlocked. So take that for what it's worth there. Regardless, you can always get iPhones unlocked online, or the carrier can do it for you if you've had service for a certain amount of time with them. You can see on the side here, the button placement is pretty much the same as it is on the iPhone 5 and 5S. This is our little slider lock here. We can use that to put it into silent mode easily. Our volume buttons right here, a little bit bigger than they are on the other iPhones. Bottom here we have our headphone jack, our lightning port, and here's our speaker. Notice holes instead of grills on the metal iPhones. Our microphone hole right there. On the side here is our little pop-out door. You poke it with a paper clip or the iPhone remover tool to take out that drawer, and that's where the nano SIM goes. And power buttons up top. There are not too many models of iPhone, or too many SKUs. Basically, they put a lot of wireless radios on here to get these to work with a variety of carriers easily. For example, one model works on AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Now, they're still locked to their respective carriers if you get that, but the internal radios inside are the same. And then there's another version for Sprint, and then there's the unlocked version. Honestly, when it comes to internals and everything that's going on in here, this is the same as the iPhone 5, so we're not going to do a super long-winded review on this. Call quality is just as good as it was on the iPhone 5. Again, 16 or 32 gigs of storage. You have a gig of RAM inside. Wi-Fi 802.11 Bluetooth 4.0, a GPS with GLONASS, and reception is quite good on this. If anything, plastic tends to be less of a reception deterrent than is metal, which is why the iPhone 5 and 5S have their glass on the top and the bottom for the wireless antennas. It's fast, it's easy to use. It comes with iOS 7 out of the box, and you can also get the iLife and iWork apps. It's free. They're not preloaded on here, but when you launch up the store, it's going to say, hey, would you like to download these for free? So if you don't want them, you don't have to take them. If you don't want them now, but you want them later, they're always going to be available there for you. So you can have iPhoto, iMovie, Pages, Keynote, and so on. So you get your Word, Excel, PowerPoint compatible stuff, and photo editor, and your video editor. Nice to see there. In terms of speed, this does much like the iPhone 5. No surprise there. That's almost identical score to what we saw on our iPhone 5 running iOS 7. Now, our SunSpider JavaScript test was actually a little bit faster at 722 milliseconds, and that might just be chalked up to the clean install of iOS 7 here versus closer to 922 on our iPhone 5. 1.2 megapixel camera up front for video chat. The 8 megapixel rear camera, same thing again as on the iPhone 5. And we've got the new iOS 7 software features here, so you can see you got controls for your flash, on, off, auto, HDR, on, off, switching your front cameras is right there. Shutter button. The new live color filters are here. And if we go flip it this way, you can see we can go between video, photo, square photo, and panorama mode, and it tells you how to do that. Picture quality is good. It's just like the iPhone 5. Shooting speeds are good as well. And we can press and hold to get that burst, as you can see here, and then we can review the bursts and decide which of those we want to keep. Obviously, no fingerprint scanner on this guy, just your normal lock, unlock button. There's no biometrics on this. That's great for those of you who are paranoid and are afraid the NSA is watching. Here it is next to the iPhone 5S. Again, you're looking at the same size device. The iPhone 5C is slightly heavier and just a little bit bigger because polycarbonate shell is pretty thick. And honestly, this is a very rigid phone. You cannot twist this, you cannot bend this. It's pretty sturdy plastic. It's not too easy to scratch either. So it's a fairly durable phone. Web browsing on this, the same WebKit web browser that we know from Apple, updated for iOS 7. And we have the new modern keyboard that you saw there. Responsive, easy to use. Swiping up, we have our new control center right here where we can control brightness, our playback controls, wireless radios, works in portrait and landscape as you can tell. Access to the flashlight, to the camera, all good. It's going to play video just as well as the iPhone 5 did once again, so we'll take a quick look at our iPhone 5S video review so you can see that in action. Notice the new navigation controls that we have here are part of iOS 7 for those of you who haven't watched our video walkthrough of that. And our speaker is about 50% volume right now.
This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the iPhone 5S. Yes, another year, another iPhone or two.
Plays fine, looks beautiful, gets the job done. And of course, Google has a YouTube application you can download if you just want to watch YouTube videos as well. So who is the iPhone 5C for? I would say this is going to sell really well with teenagers. Not just folks who are on a budget, but those folks who are going to say, you know, the iPhone 5 and its features are good enough for me. The camera is good enough. I don't need the new slow-mo feature or the slightly better low-light performance that you see on the iPhone 5S fingerprint scanner. Who cares? Or I'm paranoid. I don't even want to use it. It's a great iPhone experience, and that's what it is. If you're in love with the metal look, obviously this is not the phone for you. But for those of you who are like, wow, this is kind of cool. I can have different colors, and then Apple's neat cases with the cut hole. So you can have contrasting holes showing a color of the phone versus the color of the case plastic. I'm sure there'll be a million third-party of those, too. It's endlessly attractive and enjoyable. Some people have criticized Apple for not making the affordable phone for the rest of the world, and that's a whole political brouhaha I really won't get into. But I will say that, Apple has always been a kind of high-end product company. They don't make inexpensive products. When BMW and Mercedes don't make affordable BMWs and Mercedes for everybody, does anybody fault them? No, it's just what the company makes. It's the market that they're in. That said, also, the iPhone 4 is going to be available for even a lot less money, which should help some folks out. The nice thing about it, for $99 with contract, you're still getting a really attractive, solid, fast, responsive phone with a good set of features. Is it competitive with Android phones? Same thing I said with the iPhone 5S. A lot of it has to do with your preference for the experience, the ecosystem. Do you love your iPhone? Do you love iTunes? Is that what you want more of? Have you not been comfortable with Android when you've given it a try? If so, then this is the phone for you. If you're one of those Android folks, power user, love all the features and all the variation that's available on that platform, that's certainly also a viable decision. And we'll have some smackdowns between the iPhones and some Android phones to help you decide. So that's the iPhone 5C. It's available right now in every major U.S. carrier and unlocked as well. And yes, it's a very nice phone, certainly. And if you like the iPhone 5, you're going to like this too, assuming that you're okay with the polycarbonate design. I think it's pretty cool, and I think having a choice of colors is a little bit refreshing. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit Mobile Tech Review for our full review of the iPhone 5C, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.